right, welcome back to the Built to Grow podcast. I'm your host, Tim Lyons, in the studio with the sun beaming in my right eyeball, joined by Randy Yankson. What's up, buddy?
Good morning. Good morning.
Guten Tag. So we have a podcast studio, and the window's blacked out except for the upper 2 feet, and it's like this perfect time of year. It just shines right in my eyeball. And if you're watching us on YouTube, by the way, we have a YouTube channel.
There you go. Yeah,
I feel like we're getting more subscribers over there.
we are definitely. Oh yeah.
We'll allow it. Go subscribe.
They like our faces apparently, not just the voices.
I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that. Episode 479, as we're creeping up on episode 500, we are thinking about some stuff. We're thinking about what could we do. I think, just throwing this out there, love to hear from you guys on this. We do a call-in show. We just do just like a 2-hour long 500th episode celebration, and we have maybe people live on the Zoom or leave your questions ahead of time. We're thinking this through, but what do we have, about 21 episodes left to figure that out?
Yeah, a couple weeks.
That's
crazy.
That'll happen quick. So thank you guys for the support. Yep. And if you wouldn't mind, drop a review. That always helps us get seen, and we would appreciate that.
Helps us help more.
Yep, 10-4. So we got a good episode today, guys. We're talking about pricing, but price raises, pricing strategy, price psychology. I'm going to start with a couple stories.
Yeah.
A couple stories. The fact that price is related to value has been proven about 500 million times, okay? And there's a couple of things that kind of come to mind. And there was a Payless shoe store, which was one of these. It was just really funny. So everybody knows Payless shoes is kind of a discount shoe store. And they did a test. And what they did was they changed the name of it. It was like Paylasi or something. I'd have to look that up. But they changed the name of the Payless shoe store, made it like this pseudo high-end, high-fashion Italian shoe brand, right? And that was and they invited a bunch of influencers and social media and fashion industry superstars, and it's so funny because they were interviewing the people holding the shoe, and they're like, "Oh, this is a $350 shoe. You can just tell the quality. You can just tell." And meanwhile, the shoe was $19.99.
Yeah.
Right. And the pricing was like what, 10, 20 times
the
normal
cost. I don't think there was anything under like $500.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah. Right. And they did this whole like grand opening of the Paylasi store, and they just were interviewing people, and they were just loving the shoe, and they loved the way it fits, and I loved the way the stitching is, and I loved it was very, very telling, right?
Oh yes.
And they dropped the bomb on everybody at the end, and nobody could believe that this was Payless shoes rebranded into Paylasi, and people were willing and able to spend 20, 30 times more for the same exact shoe because of, one, the pricing, and obviously it was the branding. Right?
That's the epitome of perceived value. You know what I mean? As opposed to true cost and value.
Yeah.
I mean, that the perception simply because of what they created around it.
It's wild.
Yeah. And it was to the point where like some of those people were pissed. Some of those, what are they, designers, or like they critique stuff, you know what I mean, like they thought that their reputations were blown and burned because they were the ones saying how great these things were, and then all of a sudden it was like they got caught.
It was amazing. And so that's one story. Another story was they were doing a blind taste testing. I think it was in a grocery store, and two identical wines were next to each other. It had two totally different pricing. I mean, I'm just going to throw a pricing out. One was like $200 a bottle. One was like $18.99 a bottle, whatever. They were identical. They were the same. And every single person said the more expensive wine tasted better. It was the same wine. Yeah. Wild. Yeah. Right? Perceived value. They see the price. The price equates to quality in their eyes. And I'm not immune to this either, by the way. Yeah. I will buy. Yep. Typically, the quality is better. Typically. Like, for example, I remember, even 10 years ago with jeans went through the roof. Remember, you were buying jeans for like $49 one day, and then the next day everything was $300 for a pair of jeans. And there was this designer denim and all this stuff. Now, granted, I would justify paying $200 or $300 for a pair of jeans because they would last way longer. Not not that I wanted to wear them the same amount as I wanted to wear the 49 pair, just for example, but the quality was better in my eyes, right?
Yeah.
And so like I would search out specific brands to go buy because they fit better, they lasted longer, and probably at the end of the day, they were probably as cheaply made as the first pair of jeans.
Probably. Right? I mean, I did the same thing with headphones I still do the same thing with headphones, and I justify it by the amount of time, that
They're
I
on
use
your
it.
head,
And I mean, like between phone calls and gym time, you know what I mean? We use them. There's times where it's like 6-7 hours a day sometimes, so
Right. I
could justify $300-$400 pair of headphones for the same thing. And to their point, the quality, they also came with warranties, and the manufacturers would back them. So if I did have a problem, it wasn't, it was $40, throw it away, grab another. I'd take it back and I'd get a full replacement or an exchange for, equal value. And so for me, that was huge, right? It took care of the problem too. If I did experience something, the value that they brought to the table justified that as well.
And so a lot of times price equals value. A lot of times price equals status. So somebody might buy something more expensive to make so they may raise their status level, maybe in the community and stuff. And I had this same example. We used it on this show where the influencer might drive a Lamborghini, right, or a Ferrari, and it brings his status up. But the same exact vehicle to maybe a Midwestern housewife or somebody that's dropping their kids off at school, driving up to school in a Ferrari or Lamborghini, would actually lower their status, right? And so just because they're the equal thing, it doesn't raise everybody's status equally. So it may lower somebody's status. So it's very interesting. So kind of taking this back into the pricing at your gym, most gym owners or trainers or people selling training chronically undervalue your pricing.
Absolutely.
Now, there's a lot of reasons for that. And one of those reasons is, hey, the person actually selling the training sometimes and more often than not couldn't even afford to buy the personal training from themselves at the price because they don't have that kind of money.
Yep.
But then that could be equally said for anybody selling a Rolex or a Lamborghini or even a diesel truck today, 120,000.
Yep.
So like it should, there's a psychology there around, hey, you know what? I think personal training is pretty easy because I train every day. Therefore, I don't think it's that valuable because I can just go out there and train myself for free. So it's very difficult for me to sell this training to Mrs. Johnson because I don't see the value in it because it's just natural to me.
Sure. And I think that's where it has to start, right? Like we have to think about not just the transaction that's taking place, it's the solution we're providing.
That's very true. And you see this meme a lot, this one. You're not paying me for the 10 minutes to fix your toilet. You're paying me for the 10 years it took me to figure out how to fix it in 10 minutes.
10 minutes, exactly.
And so this happens a lot of times with the trainer, but the plumbers even, or electrician. Yeah, I can go fix that. Or it happened to us a lot of times with funnels.
Sure. Yep.
Dude, I know exactly how to fix it. Let me just go do it for you for free and fix it because it takes me 10 minutes. But think about all the education and the money invested to figure out how to fix that in 10 minutes.
That was me yesterday with 2 of our clients.
Right.
But I mean, happy to do it, obviously, they are our clients. But same thing, rather than struggle to go teach them, it was something that was so in my wheelhouse. I was like, let me just go fix it for you. I'll show you how I did it. But it's easier for me to fix it than it is for me to explain it, and you have to go figure it out.
So again, the psychology around this, you need to know all of this stuff when you're trying to sell, trying to put somebody in a position to sell personal training, fitness programs to the end consumer. You can't let that psychology come into play. Now, going back to your pricing as a gym owner, you need to look at your margins. At the end of the day, you got to have money left over to pay the bills, right? Not only do you have to pay, in a lot of CPAs put cost of goods sold up on the top versus down. So there's different ways to account for personal training. If you think about cost of goods sold and you're looking at, say, maybe a construction project, for example, the cost to perform said project is cost of goods sold within that project, right? So a lot of accountants will put the labor that it takes to service training up in the cost of goods sold section, where down in payroll is admins and officers. again, it's irrelevant because at the end of the day, it comes down to net profit, right? So at the end of the day, you should look at what you're paying for that hour of training to your staff, what you're collecting as a total. Let's just say you're training large group, maybe you're training one-on-one, maybe you're training semi-private. How many clients are in there on average? What are they all paying? Total that up. And you should have 75% margin on the cost of goods sold for that hour.
That deliverable, that service.
And a lot of times, at a very minimum, if anybody's doing one-on-one training in their gyms right now, most likely it's 50-50 or even 60-40 towards the coach.
Towards the coach, sure.
How are you going to stay in business when you only have 40%? I guess that would be gross profit at the top to carry down into mortgage, rent, marketing, officer payroll, admin payroll, professional services, utilities, internet, software, all these things. So, kind of our rule of thumb is about 25% allocated towards labor cost at, cost of goods sold level. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And so if you look at your numbers and you're like, whoa, man, I'm 50%. You got two options. Pay your coaches less or charge more. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Or change your model. If you're doing a one-on-one, it's very hard to be at 25%.
Absolutely.
Because let's just say you're doing $80 an hour and let's 20% is $16. What are you going to pay your one-on-one coach for $18.50? Because they can go train and make $100 an hour.
Yeah.
Or 70 or 60 or 50 or 40.
It's all benefit for them.
And let's just say they're willing to leave your gym that you're paying them $18.50 for that one-on-one session because you're trying to keep that margin in line. And they go take all your clients and say, hey, you're paying him $80, I'll charge you $40. They're making almost 2.5 times what they were making with you. Tough spot.
Yeah.
Another knock on one-on-one training. That's why we just put our flag in the ground semi-private. There's win for the coach, win for the client, win for the gym.
Yep. It's the sweet spot.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's another good story about that. Joshua Bell was a violinist, and he went to the, I think it was a subway in Brooklyn or something like that. I think it was New York. And he essentially played for free, right? Opened up a case. He was playing a Stradivarius from 1713.
Crazy.
One ticket to his show can easily be $3,000. And yet he was playing for free in the subway, and everybody would just pass by. Yeah. Nobody gave him the time of day. Nobody had any idea that he was world-renowned, musician, because it was perception. They assumed that this is just another guy in the subway trying to make a buck. And,
right.
The environment dictates a lot of that, right? So some of that's client experience, right? In order to charge, you have to be able to provide that experience as well.
I might argue in that particular situation, the clientele that would go to a show probably aren't taking the subway.
I mean, in New York, you'd be surprised. You know what I mean?
Maybe
right?
in New York, right? Yeah, I guess I've never lived in New York, so maybe that would be, yeah. But maybe in general, they wouldn't appreciate high quality violinist music. I would. I don't know if I would
recognize who it was or something like that, but he's good.
You can tell.
Yeah.
I've gone on in New Orleans, for example. I was in New Orleans. I went to college in Louisiana, and I would go down to New Orleans a lot, and there were some amazing musicians just playing on the corner.
Yeah.
I was sitting jam with them, man. That was awesome. Sipping your big old, what is that thing?
Yard.
The grenade.
You're drinking a yard.
The hurricanes. The hurricane. Down in Nolens. Great
Good
city.
times.
God, man, what a crazy town. But yeah, I mean, I'll go jam with them. But yes, to that point, I remember seeing that. It was all day. The guy was doing all day.
Hours, yeah.
It was like a time lapse type of thing,
Yeah. And I mean, you can look it up. I mean, it's obviously a big report around it now. And I don't remember how much he collected throughout the day, but I don't even think it was worth one ticket to a show. You know what I mean? And thousands of people came and went, and yet he didn't earn the one entry to a normal one of his shows.
Yeah, it's wild. So let's talk about a little bit of the psychology around gym owners not wanting or able to charge more for the service. So I hear this a lot. You hear it all the time. My clients won't pay that.
My clients won't.
Or the other thing I hear a lot is we're the top of the market already. We can't raise it more. And I would argue, I would tell you this. This is kind of my rule of thumb. If you're not getting price objections at the sales table, and it's never coming up, or it's coming up 1 in 10 or 2 in 10, it's time to test.
Yeah.
Test the next person, raise your rate. Don't globally do it, but just like try it.
Sure.
If you don't get hesitation, do it again.
Yeah.
Continue to do it until you get to a place where it's hard stop. You just can't close any deals. And then if you're running into that, step it back.
Sure.
It's very similar to like, and I know nobody will relate to this, but like ad spend increase. You keep increasing it in smaller increments until it stops working.
Diminishing return.
Then you back it back down.
Yeah.
So like on Facebook ads, that was like our scaling principle was you would go up 20% every 48 to 72 hours, watch it for another 48 to 72 hours, raise it, and then watch it. And if it stopped performing, you back it down to the last increase and leave it there.
Yep.
And so we did this. It doesn't work every time. And I'm going to be the first one to just throw myself under the bus here because we have a coaching, Iron Circle member, Justin. He's probably listening to the show right now. He was closing 80, 90%. And these were real numbers. And he was at the specific price point. And I said, dude, you gotta raise your rates, man. You gotta raise it. We raised it $10 a week, and his close rate collapsed. Like I've never seen it collapse before. He went from like 88% to like 60%, 50%.
Big change.
And I said, I guess we made a mistake. Honestly, I don't see how $10 is causing people this much financial burden. It was $10 a week, so it's $40. So it wasn't like just $10 for the month. But he sold it in weeks. So he was selling in weeks. So let's just say it went from 89 to 99 or 59 to 69, whatever those numbers were, and it completely backfired. And he's lost a bunch of people, and all this stuff happened. So I said, we got to go back to your old rates. You just have to at this point. Now, not to throw Justin on the bus, but I will bring this, and I brought this up to him. Is it a psychology thing around you
as
not valuing your own service $10 more per week?
Yeah.
He promised me it wasn't, but you have to maybe assume there's something in his head. He loses 2 sales, loses 3 sales, loses 4 sales. Boom, it's in there. I can't sell it.
Oh my God, this doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah. As a sales person, man, woman, you have to have thick skin. You got to go for no. You got to be okay with no's because the more no's equals the more yeses, right?
Yep.
If you're prospecting, I guess. If you're waiting for people coming in, no, that doesn't.
It's not going to work.
So
Gary Vee said that a long time ago. He said, somebody asked him the question, like, what should I be charging? He goes, what people are willing to pay. Like, that's the right answer. That's right. What people are willing to pay for your services. And that's the only way to find that out is to get to a point of diminishing return, diminishing ability, right? You start to watch your numbers and your closes start to fall off. And when you can take it off of your plate, it's not something that we're doing at the point of sale. It's literally friction in the price point for these consumers. That's where you draw the line and you work your way back a little bit. Yep. And that's the right answer. And so it's difficult. I mean, businesses, there's a lot of nuances, right? I mean, we've talked about it time and time again. I mean, we could run the same campaigns for marketing at 2 different gyms, and there's different outcomes and results. The right answer is the one that works for you. But it's always going to come down to a test. It's always got to be tested. And if you're the gym owner who's sitting in the seat and saying, I can't do that, my clients won't, I've said it before on the show, you're the reason in your business it's not growing and pushing forward. If you have those self-limiting beliefs in your abilities and what you guys can bring to the table, that's a you problem, not a consumer problem. Yeah. You and your team have to address that. But once you've got that stuff figured out, now you test the marketplace and you see what the marketplace will sustain. I mean, we've got clients right now, Tanya, that came through our coaching program. She's the only one in her entire area doing what she's doing. The only one. She could probably charge twice what she's charging now and still get business because she's got something unique. And that alone is that unique, selling proposition. That's it's a benefit over her competition no matter what. And so she essentially can almost name her price right now. It's an untapped market, right? But
I'd be willing to bet, I would challenge everybody listening to the show. I would much rather be the highest person in the market than the lowest for 2 reasons. One, our service is valuable.
Yep.
We're not a big box gym. It takes 10 times more clients to make the same amount of money, which means you have 10 times more clients to replace on an average attrition of 5%, 8%. Bottom line is there's no strategic advantage for being second most expensive.
I knew you were going to go there. And it's right.
There's no advantage to be second most expensive in the market. There's only an advantage of being the most expensive because of what we just said a second ago about the value and perceived value of price. Be the most expensive. Own it. Over deliver. If you were to double your prices and get that and make sales, think about how much more value you can deliver. You can pay your coaches more. They're happier. You get better equipment. Keep your place nicer, paint it every 2 months instead of every year, whatever the hell it is, right? Clean it more often, all the things. Host events with more money, serve more people, more marketing. And it just grows. It's just a domino effect. So think about your price. If you're way undervalue, charging, figure out how to add value. Don't just throw a number out there.
Sure.
That doesn't make sense either. But like, if you're chronically undercharging, maybe that's your answer. But what else could you do? Give, over deliver. Is it changing your model? Is it what is it? You decide. No, I'm telling you that. Can you add things into it? Whatever. And then charge more. You'll be happier. Your clients will think and feel and perceive a higher quality of service because they're paying more. Isn't that cool?
Yeah. What's that book that I always recommend? The Prosperous Coach. It's a really good read. If you find yourself in a position where you aren't like you struggle to value what you bring to the table and you fail to be able to wrap your head around those numbers, I would highly recommend reading The Prosperous Coach. It just breaks down the psychology of that sale in that position. But it show the value. I mean, I had a coach, one of my first coaches told me every single conversation that's had, a sale is made, right? We're exchanging ideas. Somebody's buying your belief. They're accepting your recommendation. It's communication, right? So there is an exchange of value, and that's all a sale is. But people build up a sale and
phobia.
Like just the word itself scares so many people, thinking that they're doing a disservice by asking a consumer or asking our client to pay for the service that we're providing. Again, if you take it back to the solution you're providing for that client, how many of your clients over the years or over your time training have come to you crying because you've literally got them off of medications? They were pre-diabetic and now, those indicators are starting to go. There are so many massive benefits of what we provide than hot, sweaty bodies in the room. And if you can truly put your belief around the value that you're providing for the consumer, a couple $100 a week ain't anything in the grand scheme of things. And so I think that's where you have to start. I mean, you as the gym owner, as the person conducting the sale, if your belief isn't that your stuff is the best, you're providing, massive amount of value for pennies on the dollar, you're probably not the right one in that seat.
Or change the service to do it. So,
or there you go. Or raise your value of the service you're providing.
Yeah. If you have any doubts that product's not going to get the client's results, you're done.
And that's a beautiful ethical way of being able to sell too, right? You're not sitting in that seat trying to hook somebody to something that ultimately you don't believe is really helping them. So
that's why I couldn't do the 6-week challenge.
Sure.
It really isn't helping them.
No.
And then you would justify it by, well, they're in here and they're not on the couch. Well, they're going to be on a couch in about 7 weeks from now because they're going to quit. Anyway, that's it for this episode, guys. Until next show, keep changing lives. We'll see you on the next show. Bye.
All right, and thank you for listening to that episode of the Built to Grow podcast, where we help gym owners win. Now, do you want to connect with me and other gym owners online? All you need to do is join our private Facebook group, Business Talk with Fitness Professionals. Just head on over to Facebook and type in Business Talk with Fitness Professionals, and when you do, we're going to give you our 10 marketing strategies 7-figure gym owners use to win. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Until then, keep building something great.